Welcome to Beyond the Policy, the podcast where we go past the fine print and into the real stories that shape how we live, work, and protect what matters most. I'm Matt Karaffa, risk advisor, consultant, and founder of the Be Better Foundation, where each week sit down with clients, colleagues, and industry voices to talk about business, life, and the passions that drive each of us and the areas we can all work on to truly be better. This is Beyond the Policy. Thanks for joining me on Beyond the Policy. Today we have Tom Peternell with Blue Sky Restoration. So thanks for taking some time out. Before we get into it, maybe just give our audience a quick update, who you are, what you do, and where you've been.
Sure. So I've been in the industry for 25 years. I run Blue Sky Restoration out of Waterville, Ohio. Pretty cool story. We're actually the old food town / Kroger store in Waterville. A very unique office setting with 35,000 square feet. I have about 75 employees working every day, plus subs and other vendors. So,
yeah. When people think of restoration, people might have their own interpretation of what that means. So if you could break it down, your main business and what you and Blue Sky do, how would you describe it?
So we go into residential, commercial, industrial settings that have had something bad happen. Water, fire, mold, wind, explosion, biohazard. And we remediate, abate, and fix not only the building, but also any personal or business belongings that are in that facility.
Yeah. So similar industries, when a client or someone's talking to one of us, usually something bad has happened. So when you have that fire, water situation, what's the number one goal when you go into the property, the industrial setting that you look to accomplish and get out of that first meeting?
Number one is always safety. Whether it's our employees, their employees, the homeowners, we want to make sure the place is as safe as possible. So securing the place would be number one. Stabilizing the environment would be number two. Again, it depends what type of damage they have. If they have water throughout a building, there's not a lot of safety concerns. So it's getting that environment stabilized so we don't end up with mold growth or further damages, because the longer things sit, whether it's smoke, whether it's water, it's just going to get worse literally within 24 hours.
Yeah. So a lot of moving parts, probably not at the most opportune, times, when you think of when disaster happens, it could be at any time. So if you're on a large fire, you mentioned safety, those things you look at, probably not, if there's any significant damage, isn't going to be a week turnaround. So if you have some of these jobs that span weeks or months,
Correct.
How do you manage that, relationship of trying to get their business back up and running, but meanwhile making sure you and your company are doing the right thing and getting everything back to normal?
A lot of that is dictated by the insurance company. Investigations sometimes, if it's a fire, they're almost always going to do a cause and origin investigation, which can take a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And then it's getting things, at least an agreed partial scope with the insurance company so we can move forward with part A, and then we move to part B and we can work those things out as we go. Water and smoke gets in behind drywall, it gets in behind siding. We never know on first inspection what we're really going to run into, literally until we start demoing things and we start taking things apart, and we start cutting inspection holes to see, okay, there is smoke in this cavity. Because the last thing you want to do is go through a 3-month process of rebuilding your house and go, it smells like smoke still. And so that is takes time to go through and do those things.
Yeah, absolutely. And, similar to having, a lot of options out there for, when it comes to restoration or something. So if someone would be, looking to utilize your service, what's a key differentiator, that you would have against some other, competition in the space that you do?
Sure. I mean, there is good competition around here. We have really compiled the best of the best from around the area. We have guys that have been with most of the companies in this area that have been doing this for, I would say, a minimum of 15 years. Is my newest project director. Has got 15 years of experience, up to one project director, Rob, I think, is on year 33. I've been doing it, like I said, 25 years. There's a wealth of experience within Blue Sky's walls. And I think that truly makes a difference for what we're capable of doing as opposed to some others.
Yeah. In your 25 years, any specific example, business, water, fire example where you've thought, that experience has really come through and, the client would have, rave things to say about what you and your team were able to do?
I can name a lot of them, and a lot of them would be your clients as well. We just had a unique one, a very popular restaurant in downtown Toledo in a historic area. Across from the ball field had a pretty significant kitchen fire. Shut them down. They were pondering doing the work themselves, and the adjuster stepped in and said, "You've got a lot of issues. Things are wet. There's dangers here. There's damaged electrical in the walls, and I want to get a professional in here." So he called me. We were out there that afternoon. We were able to stabilize the environment, do a full inspection, and show that there's a whole lot of things that, again, somebody untrained just wouldn't see, using thermal imagery, using moisture meters. We were able to say, hey, here's what's going to happen if you don't mitigate this properly. They hired us. I think their goal was to be closed for a minimum or a maximum of 3 weeks, and I think we had them back in business 11 days later, working around the clock, working Saturdays and Sundays, and they are very happy customers.
Yeah, that's a great example of when you're the professional and you have the expertise in that type of situation where someone who might want to get the work done, their biggest goal, you mentioned across from the stadium, summertime, probably a very popular time. So speed might be on someone's, top of the list for the owner wanting to do it themselves.
Correct.
I think you and your expertise come in, while that's important, but you're going to make sure it's done right and they don't have any of those issues you mentioned, previously.
Yeah, because odds are there would have been secondary issues that may not even be covered if the thing wasn't mitigated correctly. Mold growth in a wall cavity 6 months from now when the building's all shut down and they don't have the windows and doors open could become a big problem for them. Thankfully, they were 100% receptive that, oh, yeah, we do need to do this thing and do it the right way, and they did everything the right way.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear, and glad they're back up and running in 11 days and not any longer. So if you take, that example out, and you sum up a year or maybe a couple years span, what are some of the most common types of calls you and Blue Sky get?
Water and fire are two main ones. Over the weekend, coincidentally, a friend of mine called me and said the neighbor's house had a fire and her siding was melting, and she sent me a video and pictures of the siding melting off of her house. That was on Saturday night. I actually ended up knowing the homeowners that had the fire. They were friends as well, and they called us Sunday morning. We were over there and got them signed up as well. So there really isn't a norm. There really isn't an expected time. This was right before the Michigan game Saturday night started that I got the call.
Stamp.
And we were there before the fire department left. We were able to get the house secured, tarped Sunday morning, and now we're doing both projects, and they both have very good insurance companies, which is extremely helpful.
Yeah. Heading into, fall, eventually come, winter, what are type of the things I would imagine, pipes would be at the top of the list as we enter that season, but what other seasonal, trends do you see in your business?
So wintertime, what we get the most, obviously we get the fires still because turkey fryers, Christmas lights, lots of ovens going, but what we see a lot of is frozen pipes. People not maintaining the heat in their building, pipes aren't insulated properly, they did an addition and things weren't exactly buttoned up the way they should be. So we get a lot of frozen pipes in the wintertime. We're very different. We're a construction company, but we're really busy December, January, February, where most construction companies are slower. That is absolutely our busy time. And then the other one that comes through, obviously there's tornadoes and things like that that occur in the summer, but what we see more is obviously the spring storms. If you get 6 inches of rain in an afternoon, a lot of basements and stuff get flooded.
Yeah. Any words of advice you would give to a commercial property owner, that as we come upon that season, you mentioned one, maintaining heat, anything else you'd recommend to kind of mitigate some of those bad losses you see?
Yeah, winterizing is a good idea if you're not using the building. Obviously getting it winterized, maintaining heat, making sure your fire extinguishers are charged and up to code. Just doing things intelligently, preventing things you can, limiting access to the buildings and things like that, because you may go in and get it all set and somebody may come in and make a change. So monitoring your building, and can't ever prevent everything, but there's certainly preventable stuff.
I think one thing, just proactive.
Be very proactive on.
And not, when it's negative 20 and you got water coming in. Probably Correct. Not the best time to call you.
Correct. But it's absolutely the best time to call.
Different perspectives there. So with Blue Sky's relationship, you mentioned, working with a handful of insurance companies, adjusters, as a large part of your process. You're probably dealing with one of those. Explain that relationship a little bit, when you have significant fire, smoke, water, that relationship, working on a project like that.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we're very referral driven, relationships with guys like you, local adjusters. You really want to have that trust, that understanding that if I'm there or one of my project directors there, that these guys know what they're talking about. We know that adjuster is going to be handling it because most of the ones we work with the most are very seasoned adjusters. And we come up with a good plan together to minimize whatever that property owner or homeowner is going through, make it as painless as possible. We really are a one-stop shop. We'll handle all your contents restorations, your electronics restorations, your artwork restoration, all the way through, framing and drywall and mechanicals and your roof and things like that.
Yeah. One similarity, you and I have chatted about, here at Risk Strategies, we're an independent agency, work with a lot of different insurance companies. Similar in your world, work with a lot of different insurance companies based on the type of leads coming in. Not to get too far in the weeds when it comes, but kind of the thing we've chatted about is not all insurance companies are created equal. So maybe with a firsthand, experience of when you see, whether it be an endorsement or, coverage limits, how do you kind of interpret that scenario?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I hear the biggest regrets people typically have is they say, I was with a Risk Strategies and I had this insurance carrier and I just switched to a different one because they sent me something in the mail and I was able to save $300 a year. While that $300 a year savings is great, now you need them. Now you need who you bought insurance from to step up and help take care of you. And we see a lot of disgruntled clients because things are just not handled the way they were sort of sold. So getting the right carriers, the right agents, and then obviously the endorsements is a huge one, especially for homeowners. We run into a lot where people have water in their basement and they bought the house, they had some storage down there and maybe a furnace and a hot water tank and that was about it. So that $10,000 in coverage was probably good enough, and which is usually the lowest limit. But then they finish their basement, they put their furniture down there and they get 2 feet of water. Well, that limit covers not just the drywall and the carpet, it also covers their couches, their Xboxes, their TVs, everything down there is in that limit. And they're way too often do we see people put in a really tough spot because they had to figure out how they're going to spend their money. They've got $10,000 to work with. Our mitigation ate up a portion of that. Now they've got $6,000, $7,000 to work with. And okay, what do we fix? Do we do the drywall? Do we do the couch? Do we replace our kids' toys? And that stuff goes really quick, especially if you end up in a furnace and hot water heater. You're
Right.
pretty much out of money right away.
Yeah, and in the grand scheme of things, to triple, quadruple that limit, we're talking maybe $150, $200. So I think that's your
Minimal,
point of
yes.
minimal cost at that point to, when you need it, for it really to come in,
Correct.
come into effect. So if someone, obviously, if their building's on fire, have a fire, they can get in contact with you. But if someone doesn't have a claim, or they're just thinking, being prepared for some things that could come down the road, anything for them to look out for, to think of Blue Sky, when it comes to using you in the future?
Sure. So, our website's www.gobluesky.com. No E in Blue Sky. 419-878-8500 is our office number. And quite honestly, we do tours of our facility quite frequently. You've been through it. You really get a better understanding of what we do. Coincidentally, the clients that had the fire, friends of mine that had fire over the weekend, came in yesterday, Sunday, late morning, spent about 2 hours there. They're like, holy crap, we didn't know anything like this existed. Where do we sign? We want to use you. And they really saw what we have as far as equipment. Our contents department is second to none, and our reconstruction team. So they were able to see it on a Sunday and set their minds at ease significantly.
Yeah, I think having kind of two different, one scenario where it's minimal, closer to that 5,000 to 10,000, and also working on some projects that, someone's entire house that they lived in for 30 years was burnt to the ground.
Yep.
Your ability to handle both of those situations with time and efficiency is huge, and everything down to restoring contents and getting them back. And I think that's a great thing for if people want to reach out and
Sure.
have a tour and see that part of it. I think that kind of connects the dots in a unique industry.
Absolutely. You get to see it firsthand. what it really takes to restore a computer or the tables and desks and chairs that are in here. We've got 35,000 square feet packed full of people's, whether it be a restaurant, a commercial building, or a residential property.
Yeah, very cool. We'll wrap up with a few questions. So travel a lot around Northwest Ohio, a lot of lunch meetings, I'm sure.
A few, yeah.
Any favorite, well, we're in Bowling Green. Any favorite place to eat in Bowling Green?
Oh, Bowling Green would probably be Spots and Beckett's.
There we go. Favorite brand of shoe?
Shoelaceless. Hey, dudes.
Classic. Favorite, if we go into your car right now, what's on the radio station?
Probably ESPN Radio.
Favorite sports team?
Detroit Tigers.
Favorite NFL team?
Detroit Lions.
There we go. Thanks, Tom. Appreciate the time. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining. Thanks for hanging out with me on Beyond the Policy. If you got something out of today's conversation, pass it along to a friend, client, or colleague who might enjoy it too. You can always connect with me through the show notes or on LinkedIn. And remember, the best coverage always starts with the right conversations. Until next time, be better.